Hello everyone. Today I'm very excited about our 7th interview from the ToolSense interview series Workshop Talks. I'm Jennifer and I'm responsible for communication at ToolSense. Our guest today is Michael Ostendorf, Senior Vice President of Service Delivery Aviation at ABM Industries. And then of course I would like to introduce Alexander Manafi, CEO and co-founder of ToolSense. Mr. Ostendorf, perhaps you could tell us a few sentences about yourself and ABM.
Sure. Good morning, Jennifer and Alex. Yeah, I started with the aviation business in 1985, moved through several different companies, and then ABM purchased us in 2012, moved around in operations through the years, and then finally moved up to the Senior Vice President level of service delivery about 4 years ago. And have been working on different technologies and innovations, as well as the training and safety in our division.
Thank you very much. Then we already come to the first question. Mr. Ostendorf, how did you become aware of ToolSense in the first place?
Well, we've been looking for solutions in our equipment, motorized as well as non-motorized, and looking through different applications for that, and came through cross with ToolSense, had a couple different iterations and some meetings, and found that it was going to really fill all of our needs, from the Excel documents that we keep now, as well as paper and pencil, and then some other applications that it has that we could actually move into our business.
That sounds good. And Mr. Ostendorf, what was the status quo in equipment management at ABM before ToolSense, and how do you think will ToolSense improve the processes?
Well, we use a company right now that takes, when we buy a piece of equipment, it moves over to the leasing agreement. And that company keeps track of our book values and fuel usage and those pieces, but it really doesn't keep track of the equipment that's actually in use that day. And we're doing POIs on paper, and then we're actually putting that into a computer database. And then same thing with Excel documents. As we move through equipment, we're moving around people with Excel documents of each station. So we're looking to try to grab all that and pull it together. With technology these days, with new APIs and those pieces, we can actually get the electronic versions and have it automatic. But we still can't get that POI that's done every morning for the actual piece of equipment. So feel like that we're going to take it from the 19th century to the 21st century, moving forward.
And Alexander, what do you find most interesting about working with ABM?
I mean, I think Mike explained it perfectly, and I think also for let's say a startup like us, it's really humbling and also an honor, because ABM, of course, is a extremely large company, and it's also with a long history, and for us to hopefully have a positive impact in the operations and make it a bit easier. Of course, that's super exciting, to be honest. Yeah.
Mr. Ostendorf, where do you see the advantages in using ToolSense?
I think the advantages are still unfolding, but what I see the first part of it is actually just taking a number of different combined sheets that we have. One being the actual equipment, the other piece being when's the book value and where is the actual usage lie there. And then also being able to combine equipment onto like one dashboard, to where we have motorized equipment and non-motorized equipment. We currently have probably 5,000 to 6,000 non-motorized pieces of equipment that are out there in the field that are $1,000 a plus. So we look to take that and bring that all together into one system. It's a big benefit.
Sounds good. And what business benefits do you see in ToolSense? Where do you see time or cost savings?
Well, I think the one key piece of it is when you're looking for that piece of equipment and want to see if it's actually in use or not in use, and somebody's needing a truck or a sweeper or anything like that, we can instantly go to the actual program and see if something that's been sitting in a boneyard or actually not in use that we could take and move. The other piece is really just trying to get inventory and having consistent inventories, to where we can actually look at the equipment and how many times it's been used that month, and so on. So I think that's the biggest benefit, is being able to go right to one system and get all that information.
So also, Mike, what maybe was super interesting for me also, what you said in our talks is like the challenge you have also at the airport with all the wheelchairs, right? And all this kind of equipment. So that's also not something that you typically think about when you think about asset management and IoT. But can you explain a little bit what's the challenge there? And because I found that quite interesting.
Well, yeah, in our large operations, any given day, we will have about 1,000 wheelchair usages, and in trying to gather up those wheelchairs from the front of the airport to the back of the airport, and not knowing exactly if you have the 1,000 wheelchairs you started out with. So being able to actually look at those and there's with the barcode or QR code, we can scan those. We can capture that very quickly. In the past, we were walking around and putting dots on them and making sure you've counted that one in those pieces. So it was very, archaic.
Maybe now the question directed to Alexander. What would you like to add here? Some benefits, maybe?
Yeah, I think in general the main impact and also what also in general our vision is that we go away from, let's say, manual processes like Mike said, basically marking the equipment somehow or basically writing it on a piece of paper or on Excel, like different kind of silo systems in a very, let's say, opaque manner, and basically bring it into one central digital solution, and then really also then combining it also with IoT. And I mean, this is then also the idea with ToolSense, that when we put all this together, we can also automate various kinds of process in the future. And I mean, that's just little things that were done all the time, probably all over the place. And if we add all of this up, I think this can be quite relevant in terms of time savings and everything.
Thank you. And Mr. Ostendorf, why did you choose ToolSense and not a solution from one specific supplier?
Well, what I found with ToolSense is they actually covered a lot of the boxes. I mean, checked all the boxes in non-motorized and motorized equipment. You can find things that actually do motorized equipment because the electronics and it's got electronics in the system itself, but non-motorized is very difficult. You're having to put in a lot of different other capital with RFID and those pieces to do the non-motorized. This is a very simple system to use, and I can actually deploy it very quickly. So that was kind of the big pushers, and it checked a lot of the boxes that we had. And moving forward, I'm sure there'll be new updates that we can actually go in with.
And Alexander, how does ToolSense perform in cross-brand deployment? Maybe you can add something here.
Yeah, I mean, on the one side, we tried, because also, I mean, also the challenge with a wheelchair is you can't put $100 or $200 IoT device on there. So it has to be also quite cost efficient. So also there where we go with, let's say, stuff like QR codes, where it's just easy to tag and it's basically almost free. Yeah. And so on the one hand, we go basically and over like this and with quite low cost tagging, and also that the platform basically can support all kind of different brands and categories and types of equipment. And on the other hand, then basically when we think of IoT, where we have a different array of sensors, and where it's also then the possibility to just digitize whatever kind of equipment by just putting a sensor on the outside or different kind of stuff. So yeah, that's basically the idea of the whole solution.
Mr. Ostendorf, would you ever use Excel spreadsheets again after using ToolSense, and why or why not?
Well, I'm hoping we never have to use them again. The reasons for is because the Excel spreadsheet's only as good as the last time it was updated. So if somebody updates it and they don't send that off, then you're basically using an old sheet. We've tried the SharePoint sites and all those pieces, but they tend to be bogged down. And this is just really kind of the next steps, I think, of getting it all into one location is going to keep us from having to go backwards, per se. I think there's really no need to go backwards once you get them all logged in.
That sounds good. So we already come to our last question, Mr. Ostendorf. How do you assess the state of digitalization in the facility service industry, and how are these topics likely to develop over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think with the past couple years with COVID, I think that everybody's looking for digitalization and moving forward with everything from autonomous to IoT and those pieces. I just think it's going to get better. I think that once they get the cost down off RFID and those pieces, you're going to be using a lot of that instead of having somebody actually going to scan that QR code when it comes into a location. Either a beacon or QR or the RFID will pick it up, and then also the motorized equipment is going to get smarter as well. So it'll basically will not start the car unless it has a POI done on it, and that's a pre-inspection thing. So I think that all of that's going to help us. Obviously, there's going to be some hurdles there to get the actual frontline folks to work with it, but it's really around how you make it easier for them. If it's easy just to scanning a QR code, I think they're going to be a lot quicker to do that than have to write a piece of paper down and then go put that into a computer. So this should help us. I think that in the next 5 years, really who knows what we're going to have on technology side, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot more talking between APIs and moving across systems. So there will be, just even quicker use of the actual information in the next 5 to 10 years.
Alexander, would you like to add anything here?
Oh, I think Mike covered it pretty well.
We've been doing this a long time, haven't we?
Okay, then we already reached the end. Thank you very much for this exciting exchange. I was very pleased that you, Mr. Ostendorf, were here today, and perhaps we will hear from you again soon.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a great day.